While Kahalani and his fellow soldiers are holding back the Syrian advance, they have no idea that they're part of another chain of events unfolding thousands of miles away from the battlefield, that many say is the real miracle story of this war. U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, in turning down Golda Meir's request for arms to defend her country, is reported to have said, "Let the Israelis bleed a little." Golda Meir is desperate. Without help, Israel will not survive many more days of the pounding assault from all sides, despite all the Kahalanis and those like him who are bravely defending their homeland and sacrificing their lives on all the front lines. And so she picks up the phone and calls the private line of U.S. President Richard Nixon. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. Television film producer and documentarian Bill McKay's investigation of the American role in the Yom Kippur War describes what happened when President Nixon took Golda Meir's call in the middle of the night.
He said, "I put my robe on. I sat on the edge of the presidential bed, and I heard Golda Meir pleading with me, 'Mr. President, if you don't help us, the Jewish people will never survive.'" He said something interesting, if not strange. He said, "You know, I could almost hear my mother's voice. She would tell me stories and read to me from the Old Testament, the heroes of the Bible. And one afternoon she said, 'Richard, someday you're going to be in a position where you can help save the Jewish people. And when that day comes, you must do everything in your power.'" And he said, at that moment, I realized, maybe for the first time in my presidency, why I had become president of the United States. He was deep in Watergate, but he said, I knew I had to do what I was born to do. And he said, "Golda, what do you want?" Well, she had her list.
It was the largest airlift of armaments since World War II. The president kept his word. Everything Golda asked for, she got. Every weapon, every vehicle, every piece of equipment, and all the ammunition to operate them. A virtual arsenal airlifted overnight to Israel's front lines.
And many military experts credit that decision, that request, at that moment, as the essential element that saved Israel from destruction.
In another striking parallel to David in the Bible, Richard Nixon turned aside the Goliath of indifference to Israel in his government, faced down a powerful Secretary of State who would turn against him, and accepted the threat to his own presidency to save Israel in its hour of need. Before it was over, the Yom Kippur War demonstrated one of the most incredible turnaround victories ever recorded in military history. Israel ultimately pushed the Syrian army to the gates of Damascus and the Egyptians to within a few kilometers of Cairo. In the Golan, Syria lost more than 1,000 tanks, nearly 900 of which were left abandoned on the battlefield. More than 3,500 Syrian soldiers died. Another 5,600 were wounded in combat. Nearly 500 were taken prisoner.